Okay, so we are going to, before we learn how to solve quadratic functions without that middle term, you have to be able to simplify these radicals. This is a review page. So I want to go through these really quick. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. All right, if I asked you what the square root of 50 is, a lot of you guys would take your calculator and you would do square root of 50. And you would give me 7.07. Look at this number. It doesn't repeat, it doesn't end, it goes on and on and on. So, are you gonna sit there and write all those numbers? And there's actually more, but it's off the calculator screen. So, even if I write all the way up to this 2, I'm estimating this answer. I'm not giving you an exact answer.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
If you chop this answer, you are estimating it. So the minute you round, you are giving an estimated answer, not the true answer. So we want to keep this answer with the radical. Now just to review, these are all radical problems, and we're going to simplify them. There is an understood, here's your radical. There's an understood little number right here. It's called your index. And if you don't see a little number there, it's an understood 2. You're looking for 2 of a kind, 2 of the same number. So for example, if I say what's the square root of 9? If that number is not there, we understand it to be 2, square root. So what is the square root of 9? It is 3. What does that index mean? It means I'm looking for, how can I break the number 9 up so I get 2 of the same number? So what does that become? I have 2 3's, so the answer is, the square root of 9 is 3. Okay? Now what if I asked you cube root? The cube root of 8. Now this one's saying I want 3 of a kind, 3 of the same number. And 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, and the reason why the cube root of 8 is 2 is because there's 3 2's in 8. Okay? So, in today's homework, they're asking you what all these square roots are. They're all square root. So your job is to simplify these with the radical. So that I want exact answers. Exact answer, I don't want you to use a calculator on these. Exact answers. So now, do you remember making factor trees? Okay. How you break up 50 is optional. Some of you will, if it's an even number, you do 2's, and some of you don't. It's fine. We don't have to all be breaking these up the same way. I might do 5 times 10. One of you might be 2 times 25. It doesn't matter, you'll get the same answer. So now, what you want to do is break 50 up to it's as many prime numbers as you can, or if you see 2 of the same number, 2 of the same products. So what is 10? Another name for 10 is 2 times 5. Now I see 2 5's here. So as soon as you get 2 of a kind, that number comes out of the radical. So you're taking a 5 out because you have 2 of them. So the 5 comes out. What does not have a pair is that 2. So that's the simplified answer. Square root of 50 is 5 root 2. Sam, are you good? Okay. Now 24. Tell me what times what is 24? I heard 6 and 4. I'm going to go with that. 6 times 4. Okay, can you break up 6? And can you break up 4? Now 4 was a perfect square. So what comes out of the radical?
2.
A 2. But what stays? 6. So we really didn't need to break that 6 up. So if it doesn't come out, you put it back together by multiplying. Okay, how about 18? What times what is 18? 9 times 2. And 9 is 3 times 3. So it's 3 root 2. Are we good? Next one, 600.
6 times 10.
Now I heard, what is it?
16 10. Or am I bad at
60
math?
and 10, or you could do 6 times 100, and 100 is 10 times 10.
So it's 10.
So you could think of it that way. That's a perfect square. 10 times 10. So it's 10 root 6. How about this one? If you don't know what this is, some of you might do 16 times 100, and 16 is 4 times 4, and 100 is 10 times 10, right?
So it's 40.
So it's 40. It's just plain old 40. 10 times 4 is 40. How about 8? Some of these you should have memorized after you use them so much. What is it? It's 4 and 2, but what's the answer? 4 times 2 is 8.
2.
It's 2 root 2. 27, 9 and 3. And 9 is 3 times 3. So what's this one? 3 root 3. 48. What is it? If you don't know what times what is, 6 times 8 is 48, but let's say you don't remember. If it's an even number, 2 goes into it. Start with 2. As soon as you break it up, just cutting a number in half will help you out if it's too big. Okay, so what's 6? 2 times 3, 2 times 4, and then 2 times 2. So what's this answer?
So
4 squared.
4 square root of 3. We have a 2 here we can take out, and then there's another 2 we can take out. So 2 times 2 is 4. There's a 3 that doesn't come out. Okay, so here's a number, 576.
243.
I'm gonna say this number's too big for me to think about right now, so I'm gonna say it's even, 2 goes into it. How many times does 2 go into 588?
280.
288 times. Again, it's too big for me to think about, so I know it's even, 2 goes into it. How many times does 2 go into 244? Sorry, stop.
144.
I hate it. 144.
144.
Okay, and then now, bing, 144 is what times what? 12 times 12 is 144. So now, what am I going to write for my answer? I have a couple of 12s and a couple of 2s.
So
24. Number 10. 5 times 100. And what's 100? 10 times 10. Right? 10 times 10 is 100. So what's my answer? 10 root 5. You guys getting this? 180 is 18 times 10. This is 2 times 5. This is 2 times 9. And this is 3 times 3. So group up my numbers that are pairs. What is it?
6 squared.
6 square root of 5. And number 12. I don't know, it's too big. I know 2 goes into this. How many times? 49. Oh, 49 looks familiar. 7 times 7. So what's my answer? 7 root 2. Questions? Huh?
The number 11 how do you get 6?
How'd we get 6, Nick?
Okay, so you have 2 pairs of 2. So circle those, right?
Right here.
Good. And then you have 2 pairs of 3. So those are going to go on the outside when you put them together. You're
2
going to
times
multiply.
3 is 6,
So
and
then
that's
you're going to get 6.
the oddball.
So technically we have against every radical, because it's only.
Questions? Okay, next. What do you notice these next set of problems are?
There are two.
They're fractions. They're fractions. And when you're dealing with fractions, it's not proper, not common to have a radical in the denominator. So what we do is we rationalize the denominator. How do you get rid of a radical?
You square it.
Yeah, you want to find, not all the time, but yes, I know what you're saying. You want to find, so you look at this problem and you say, I don't like the fact that there's a square root of 7 on the bottom. If I wanted something, I would want a square root of 7 here. Why? Because square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is 7. So that's fine. I'm giving you the square root of 7. But is it fair to take a fraction and multiply the bottom by square root of 7? It's fair as long as you do it to the top. Because what is the square root of 7 over the square root of 7? It's 1. And you can multiply, we learned way back that you can multiply any fraction by n number 1, and you can, it stays the same. It's not changing its value. So now, what did this do for us? The only thing it did was it got rid of the radical in the bottom. So what is the square root of 2 times the square root of 7? It's the square root of 14. Put those together. And what's the square root of 7 times the square root of 7? It's just a regular 7 with no radical. Now that's not all there is to this. It's not that easy. There's more to it. Question 17 in the numerator has a square root of 8. And I just learned in problem number 6, we just did problem number 6, square root of 8 is what? It's 2 root 2. So whenever possible, you need to simplify these. So there might be some simplifying involved. So this numerator is 2 root 2. And then in the bottom, we have square root of 3. What's wrong with this problem right now? We need to get rid of that square root of 3. So we need another root 3. As long as I give it to the top, a square root of 3. So your numerator ends up being 2 root what? 2 root 6 over 3. Now, if let's say, see this 2? If this 2 were a number like 6, you could cancel these 2. These are like terms. You can't cancel this 3 with this 6 because these are unlike. One's under a radical and one's not. Okay, number 18. What, can I simplify either one of these? No. But I need to get rid of the root 2. So I need a root 2 here and a root 2 here. What's this answer? Very good.
Can you simplify that?
No. Can you? I'm asking you. Can you? No. Why? Why can't you simplify this? One's under, one's not. One's still in prison. One's not. Okay, something silly, maybe you'll remember it. One's, I think of this as in prison. Didn't do its time. But if it comes out, then it's free.
I say they're going to the club, and if they meet a partner, then they leave as a couple. And if they didn't find somebody, they gotta stay in the club till they find someone.
Thanks, Mr. Rick, that's good.
Something they relate to.
How about 19? Can you simplify, what can you simplify? Now, do you know when you have one big radical, it's the same as the square root of 1 over the square root of 12? You can do that. That you can do. Do you know what the square root of 1 is? What's 1? It's 1. Do you know what the square root of 12 is? 2 times 2 times 3.
So 2 squared.
Yep, 2 root 3. So I just simplified my problem. Now I want to rationalize the denominator. What do I need to get rid of? Just that square root of 3 is the problem. So I multiply square root of 3 here, square root of 3 here, and you get square root of 3 over 6. 6, good job. 2, and then the 3 got the partner. Okay, 20. Number 20, what can you do? Break it up. Square root of 9 over square root of 13. So what do you know?
Is it
Three.
3 over root 13, then what? What's your answer?
3 square root of 13.
Yep. Next, 21. Break it up into root 25 over root 8. What's the square root of 25? What's the square root of 8? 2 root 2. And rationalize it. Five root 2 over 4. Beautiful. 22.
Yeah, there.
Mm-hmm. And then what? What's my
Multiply,
answer?
multiply your 3 squared stacks over 2.
Yep, beautiful. And one more. Mm-hmm. You get 7 root 35 over 5. Okay, you guys are doing good. Next, 24. Now, eventually in a couple days, we're gonna get to the quadratic formula. And I threw these on here because you guys struggle with simplifying these. Okay, so, you have a radical right here. When you do the I don't know if you remember this, but when you do the quadratic formula, this number 12 is the discriminant. Now, how do you simplify square root of 12? What do you get? Square root of 12 is what? 2, because 12, just so you recall, 12 is 4 times 3, so 2, 2. So, square root of 12 is, the 4 is the 4, and you got 2 root 3 over 2. Now, this is where you guys struggle, and I want to make sure, because when we do the quadratic formula, you guys get to this point and you do it right, and then you mess up the simplifying part, which is bad, because you did it all right, and then you mess up the answer. You can only cancel, see this 2? You can only cancel this 2 if it goes into both of these. Or you break it up. You do this, 4 over 2 plus or minus 2 root 3 over 2. That might be easier for you. Now go ahead and cancel. What is 4 over 2? And then you can cancel these and you get root 3. Okay, so that might be easier for you to do that way. Because I tell you what, you might have something like this. This is what a lot of you guys do. You go like this, that, and you put a 2, and you can't do that. You can only cancel that 2 if you have something right here to cancel. Unless you break it up. If you have this problem, you can do this. This is an option for you. You can do 4 over 2 plus or minus root 6 over 2. Go ahead and cancel that now and do 2 plus or minus root 6 over 2. You can do that.
So
If you break it up as in that and that, you can cancel it separately. But do not cancel this with this, because then your answer would have been 2 plus or minus root 6, and this is the real answer. These are not the same. They're not the same, okay? So just be careful, just be careful. Okay, let's do the next one, 25. How do you simplify square root of 75? I think a 75 is 75 cents, and 75 cents reminds me of 3/4. Anyone else think of 75, is that right? 3 times 3/4 and 5, 5. So 75 is 5 root 3. Now, can we cancel these 5s? Yes, but I want to know what your answer is. See how many of you are going to write the correct answer. What's the correct answer? What is it?
Plus or minus 5 root 3.
Plus or minus 5 root 3. No,
Plus or minus
One,
5?
yeah, one plus,
it's
or minus
1.
root 3.
It's 1 plus or minus root 3.
Silly.
Yeah. Some of you guys, what you do is you cancel this and you think it's a 0. It's a 1. There's a 1 here and a 1 here. It's 1 plus or minus root 3. I wanted to clear up that. Okay? Because I see a lot of people, they'll get this when they do the quadratic formula and then they'll write plus or minus root 3. And it's wrong. So how do I grade that? When you get a right answer and then you turn it wrong. You mark it wrong. But you have all that good work there. All right, so now what do you do for this one?
3 plus square root 36.
Wait, what's square root of 36?
6.
6. 6 plus or minus.
So sometimes this happens. And you guys leave your answer like this. But I want you to,
Like two goes
the
into
question says to simplify.
Minus
What is 6 plus 6? What's 6
12.
plus 6?
12,
12. What's 12 over 2?
6,
6 is one answer. And what's 6 minus 6?
0.
What's 0 over anything?
0.
Those are your two answers.
So
You
when
wouldn't
you don't
split
have a
out.
radical on top.
We did split it up.
Like
We
you
split
went
it up.
through-
We did 6 plus 6.
So you wanna do 6 over 2 plus or minus 6 over 2?
You don't have to. You could do it that way. You could do it that way and you'll still get the same answer,
Well, your answer would be 3 plus or minus 3.
which is 6. You would have
Oh,
6
yeah.
over 2 plus 6 over 2. And you'd have 6 over 2 minus 6 over 2. You'd have 3 plus 3, which is 6, and 0. You'd have 3 minus 3, which is 0. You get it?
Yeah.
So when the radical is on top, you're gonna have two separate answers.
Yeah. Okay, next one. What's the square root of 24?
4 square root
It's 8, 3, and then 2, 2, 2. What did you say, Nick?
3. Oh, sorry. It's 4 square root.
It's
6.
2 root 6,
Wait.
right?
2, 2, 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Over 12. Now, how will you simplify this one? I see this one, I see all kinds of goofy things happening.
right.
Can you simplify it? No, you can't. So you either leave this question the way it is, unless you can think of a number that goes into all 3 of these at the same time, then you can cancel. But if you can't, then leave it. Or you could do this. You could break this up into negative 3 over 12 plus or minus 2 root 6 over 12, and then cancel it separately. So this is going to be
Minus
negative
1/4.
1/4 plus or minus root 6 over 6. That is also okay.
Look
This
at
is
you.
good. This
Oh.
is good, or this is good. But this is what I've seen. I'm gonna replicate this answer right here, and it's wrong. Don't try this at home. This is what I've seen people do. Watch, everybody watch. Don't do this. Don't go, 3 goes into 12 4 times, 4 goes into 4, this 2 times. So the answer is negative 1 plus or minus root 6 over 2.
I don't even know how you did that.
Did you see what I did?
What?
I don't know how you did it, so I don't want you to look to see it wrong.
People will just start canceling. 3 goes into 12 4 times, and then 2 goes into 4 2 times.
Oh.
I've seen people do that. So I don't want you to do that. This is what you don't want to do. Okay, everyone cool with that? Now, let's go to the notes.
24 is 2 plus 1. Yep. Is the background on?
Yes, but let me go over. Your notes. Does everybody have the notes? Okay. What we're dealing with are quadratic equations. A quadratic equation is an equation that's written in this form, and it has an x squared, right? Well, over the last week or so, and you just took a test, we did these equations, right? We solved them, right? And we factored. Yesterday, your test, you factored something like this, and you came up with the two answers were 5 and -2 for this one, right? They were solved by factoring. Well, in these set of problems, you're going to be missing a middle term. You're not gonna have, in other words, see this right here? It does not, none of these on this back page, or on the back page of your homework, they don't have, the x to the first power. They've got the x squared, and it has to have an x squared for it to be a quadratic. And it has a constant. These are easier to solve than what you did on your test yesterday. So we're not dealing with these problems don't have a middle term. They won't have that, okay? How would you solve this if it said x squared minus 10 equals 0? What you would do, and that's what you have right here, you would add 10 to the other side, you get positive 10, and then you take the square root of both sides and you get a plus or a minus. Don't forget plus or a minus. Here is, if x squared is equal to a, then the square root, x is equal to the square root of a, or the opposite of that. You get two answers. So what do you do when they get a little bit more difficult, like this one? You're going to, you always want to get your x squared by itself. So first, get rid of this 6, divide by 6. You're going to divide each side by 6, okay? And 96 divided by 6 is 16. Then you're going to take the square root of both sides, and you get plus or minus 4. Now check that. If you took a 4 and plugged it in here, 4 squared is 16, 16 times 6 is 96, and -4 squared is 16, 16 times 6 is 96. They both work. Okay, what about this one? How would you solve this equation? Add 4, you get 12, and divide by 3, and you get 4, and then again, take the square root of both sides. And they both work, you can check them out. Okay, let's try another one. How do you solve this one? Subtract 8 from 36, you get 28. Divide by 3. Now, what do? Now you've got y squared is equal to 28 thirds. So we just learned on the, that's why I did what I did. Square root both sides, right? So y is equal plus or minus. I want you to simplify this answer. See this? This is really square root of 28 over the square root of 3. Can you simplify this square root of 28? What times what is 28? Let's do it on the side. 7 times 4 and 2 times 2. So it's equal to plus or minus 2 root 7 over 3, right? Whoops, over root 3. Now, we don't want this radical in the denominator, so what do? You're going to multiply by the square root of 3, so what's your best answer? Plus or minus 2 root 21 over 3. And guess what? There's the answer. Plus or minus 2 root 21 over 3. That's what you have to be able to do. Okay? So look at your homework. Number 11. What do? Square root both sides, and what do you get?
X equals
Plus or minus 9. Plus or minus. Why are there two answers here? Because, right, I'm looking for what x could be. So x could be a 9 or a -9. When you square both of those, you get 81. How about the next one?
add 25.
You're going to add 25 first. And then you're gonna take the square root of both sides and you write,
X equals 5 plus or minus 5.
now, if you just write x equals 5, you're getting half, there's two answers here. If you only write one answer, you get half the question right. Okay, what do you do for the next one? Sorry, they're so fuzzy.
I'm
They
guessing
all
that's
equals how much?
minus.
It's a minus 49.
Oh,
What's your answer? Plus or minus what? 7, thank you. The next one's interesting.
No solution.
Why is it no solution? It says x squared plus 49.
Just anything
Well,
squared
when you
can't
subtract
equal
by
negative.
So when you take the square root, we learn that the square root of a negative number is not possible. So there's no solution. No solution. Until you get to imaginary numbers, but as of now, there's no solution. Okay, now we're going to incorporate what we just learned. What do you do with this?
X squared equals positive.
X squared equals 24, right? Now I want an exact answer. So I'm gonna take the square root of both sides. What are you gonna write for an answer? X is equal to plus or minus. Now, it's okay if you on the side have to do this. 3 times 8 is 24, and 2 times 4, so what's the answer? 2 root what? 6. 2 root 6. 2 root 6. Because 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. There's 3 2's here. So you take a 2 out, but there's 6 left. Nick, what did you say? The next one is what?
No solution.
Why?
Because you have to put the negative, or change it to negative 24, and you can't put the square number equal to negative.
Mm-hmm. All right, what do you think you're gonna do on number 20?
distribute.
Nope, we're not gonna distribute.
I mean, that,
Because you have
Foil.
you have 2 of these. So you can take this, you can take the square root of both sides. You have 2 of these. Only when this happens, when you have 2, this is a perfect square. So what is x minus, this is what you have. You have x minus 3 times x minus 3. Do you have 2 of the same number? Yeah. So x minus 3 comes out, and you have plus or minus 49. I'm sorry, plus or minus 7. Plus or minus, square root of 49 is plus or minus 7. And now what do you do with negative 3?
You're gonna put it to 2 different grades.
You're gonna add 3 to this side. You're gonna write 3 plus 7 and 3 minus 7, because it was plus or minus 7. Well, what is 3 plus 7? 10. And what's 3 minus 7? These are your 2 answers. Now, if you don't believe me, check. If you put a 10 here, what's 10 minus 3? 7. 7 squared is 49. And negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Negative 7 squared is also 49. Try 21. Square root of both sides. P minus 4 equals plus or minus, help, come on, 4, then what?
P minus.
Add 4, you get 4 plus or minus 4. Well, what's 4 plus 4? 8, and what's 4 minus 4? Next one, 22. Square root of both sides. X plus 3 is plus or minus 7. It's negative 3 plus 7 and negative 3 minus 7. So 4 and negative 10. Next.
This one's different because it's not perfect.
Oh, it's not a perfect square. So now we're adding on to what we just learned. So you're gonna get a minus 3 equals, what's the square root of 49? 45, sorry.
3 squared.
45 is, what times what is 45? 5 and 9. What's 9?
3.
So this is gonna be plus or minus 3 root 5. Now what do I do with that negative 3? Bring it over, and you're gonna write, the answer is, this comes over here as a positive 3, plus or minus 3 root 5. Okay, number 30. What do? Square root of both sides. You get x minus 0.2. What's the square root of 0.64? 0.08, good. Whoops, and it's plus or minus 0.08, and then add 0.2 plus 0.08 and 0.2 minus 0.08. Help me out here. This is 2.8 or 0.28.
Yeah.
We both said the same thing. Think of this as 20 cents. What's 20 cents minus 8 cents? 0.12, good. I always think of decimals as money. So 0.2 is like 20 cents. If I have 20 cents and I subtract 8 cents, I have 12 cents. That's not that bad. Okay, what's 31? X plus 0.8 equals point plus or minus, right? When you take the square root of both sides, you get 0.09. Next. What are your two answers? Miss. Negative 71 and negative 89. Right? Okay. Last three are interesting. Okay, what do I do here? Square root of both sides. So I get x plus a half.
One big right hand.
Can I take the square root of 16 and can I take the square root of 9?
Yes.
I can. So it's 4/3. Excellent.
Plus
That's
or
not a big
minus.
deal. That happens. Now what? Negative a half plus 4/3 and negative a half minus 4/3. Without a calculator, what would you do to get these? How would you add these up? You have to get a common denominator. What's the common denominator? It's 6. It's a 6. So, let's look at the first one. So, if I get these in 6s, I'd have to multiply this by 3, this by 3. So negative 3 over 6 plus multiply this by 2, this by 2, 8. What's your answer here? 5, 6. You guys struggle with fractions. Okay, some do. I don't. Nick, you're funny. Okay, how about the next one? 6 and 6. Multiply this by 3, so negative 3, 6. Multiply by 2, negative 8 over 6. What's your answer? Negative 11 over 6. Good? Number 33, what do? Square root both sides. Okay, help me out. I want to hear everybody.
2A.
Minus that.
Equals what?
Wait. 3 square root 2.
Good job. What comes before 3?
Plus or minus.
3 root 2. Okay, good. Now what? If you guys can do these next two problems, I won't give you any homework.
I thought this was.
No, I have a whole new page for you guys to do. All
Oh yeah, so.
Oh, really?
right, what do you do?
Plus 5.
Subtract 5?
Add 5.
Add 5 to what? Do I add 5 to 3?
It's a
No,
separate
you-
unit.
No, it's a separate unit, so you're gonna write 5 plus or minus 3 root 2. Now what do I do with this 2?
Divide by divided.
Can I just go like
Do you want
this?
to do
You
it
have to do
separately?
the whole thing.
Yeah, it's put it up separate.
I would just put it, you
I
could
just
put
leave
it
it like
separately,
that.
I don't care. But most people leave it like this, as one big blob.
And that's usually the way the answer will be read too.
Yeah, the answer will be written like this. But, okay, I'm gonna tell you this, I teach at Macomb, and they take a final exam, and I don't write the final exam. And I noticed that on a lot of the, it's all multiple choice, on the multiple choice questions, some of them were broken up, and I don't have any control over that. So sometimes you'll see it like that. It's the same answer, be flexible. Be flexible, okay? All right, if you can all do this next question, I won't give you any homework,
Okay, oh,
okay?
yes.
But I'm gonna give you a whole nother page of these if you,
Okay.
square
I'm
what?
done.
Okay, then what?
X and equal plus negative 2 squared root
Plus or minus what?
3. 2 square root 3, because it's 4 multiplied by 3.
Good
Make it
job.
Why mix them
Whoops,
up?
What you do?
She forgot to put
I
that.
used pen, that's what I did.
Don't use pen and math.
Plus or minus 2 root 3. Subtract 1,
And
And then
divide by
what?
4. Minus 1. So minus 2 minus root 3 and then divide by 4.
good? Now you guys don't,
Why equal?
are you okay with this? Now, if you wanted to, you could break this up and go y equals -1/4 plus or minus 2 root 3 over 4, and then you could cancel this 2 and the 2 that's inside here, and you could do this. And that's another version of this answer. But it's not, do not cancel this 2 and this 4 and leave it like that, it'll be incorrect. So there's various versions of this answer, okay? You have to be versatile. Thank you, and you guys don't have homework.